Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to you all.
So today we have a very interesting topic at our hands: revenue management, challenges and solution. So we have a couple of experts with us who will be discussing this, and especially we are doing this in collaboration with Booking Suite, which is also a subsidiary of Booking.com. Moving on. So who are we? We are HotelLogics. We are a cloud-based solution provider to hotels, and especially the emerging and the mid-sized hotels who have limited resources and I want to have the same versatility and dynamism as of large hotel chains. Our mission is very simple. We want to make hoteliering easy for the 1.5 million small and mid-sized hotels worldwide. We are joined by Booking.com and in specific Booking Suite, which is a unit of Booking.com, and they are dedicated to empowering accommodation providers with smart, powerful solutions that enables them to serve the needs of their guests, basically to enhance the guest experience. Moving on, we have two esteemed guest speakers with us, Mr. Idan Velleman, who's the global commercial manager at Booking Suite, and Mr. Kumar Subramaniam, who's the founder and CEO of RevOpt, a revenue optimization solution provider for the hotel industry. Basically, we have two major experts from the industry who are going to discuss about revenue management today. So, first of all, we are not going to teach you how to do revenue management, but we are also going to cover up a lot of preconceived notions people have about revenue management, and we hope that you all find it interesting. Last part, so we are going to cover six basic topics in there. So we're going to start with revenue management today. We're going to go ahead and talk about the price setting challenges. Then we're going to talk about the methods used by the industry these days and how technology is now evolving as a major player in these methods. Very briefly, we'd also be covering the role a PMS provides as against being a transactional tool to actually being at the heart of revenue management. And finally, we would be showcasing the rate intelligence rate management tool, which is a rate shopping tool as well. Over to you, Mr. Kumar.
Thank you, Kunal. Hi, everyone. So we're going to talk about revenue management misconceptions in the first place before even we're going to start talking about what is actually revenue management means. So let's move on to the next slide, which is the misconceptions of revenue management. So before we get into revenue management, let us understand, what are the current misconceptions some may perceive to understand what is revenue management. When we talk about revenue management, essentially the discounting comes into a very large aspect. So discounting is not an effective way of increasing revenue. It might be a very short-term solution, but what happens if competition starts matching your price? So therefore, discounting is not exactly the solution to revenue management, and it would only deteriorate your pricing and it will take a hit on your bottom line. It's not applicable only when demand exceeds supply. So even a revenue management can be done at a lower demand, mid-level demand, high-level demand, even on an unconstrained demand. Artificial intelligence is always superior to human intelligence. So one may argue on this, but artificial intelligence is primarily using revenue management systems, which necessarily handles a large amount of data, followed by the human instinct and experience that combines both together will give you the best results. So obviously one is not superior to the other. It goes hand in glove. Revenue dollars are not equal regardless of the distribution channel they come through. So you might have a price parity selling the same room at the same price across all the distribution channels. The customer would land up paying the same price at the end of the day, but the profitability that you may attain for each channel may not be the same. It is definitely not designed to eliminate unsold rooms. We all know that. And the right price to charge for a room night is based on our cost and ROI expectations. Definitely not. Cost and ROI expectation is two different things. When you look at pricing at an industry level, pricing before you put up an investment of property at an X investment, you do your calculation, you do your max, you understand economically, socially, and what other factors that are involved into putting up a property. So you therefore come out with a pricing to decide that what kind of property that you want to put in. So therefore, a transaction level pricing is what makes the yieldable rooms, not the industry level pricing, right? So therefore, cost and ROI is something to do with an accounting process and not at a transaction level pricing. RM has a job done only by the revenue manager. RM is all about report generations. Report generations necessarily gives you a large data organized in a much formulated way in order for you to take some informed decisions. But report generation alone is not all about revenue generation. The flag brand will fill the hotel without us lifting the finger. So that's another misconception. A brand definitely reduces the price sensitivity of a customer, but still you need to have the revenue management processes in place. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is to understand what is revenue management. Is the application of disciplined tactics that predict consumer behavior at the micro market level, which means that you are trying to understand your behavioral patterns of each and every micro level segments of customers to help optimize product availability and price, communicate it to market to maximize revenue growth and operational efficiency. Determine the most effective price and allocate inventory to reach every future customer each and every day, making real-time adjustments to market conditions change. So you're making changes and adjusting your strategies on pricing according to the change in the market conditions, whether it is a competition or a special event. You look at various aspects and the behavioral patterns of your micro level segments and you're adjusting pricing strategies. So that's in a nutshell, but we'll look at it a little more in detail, how effectively revenue management can be implemented at an operational level. Next slide. Maximization of hotel or company's profit by driving revenue through effective control of all distribution. Right. So you look at all distribution, be it offline and online, across all distribution channels. It's a combination of people, process, and tools. So therefore, people development is very, very important. Everybody needs to understand the basic concepts of revenue management and how revenue management can be perceived and implemented across the board at an operational level, even at a transactional level. Consistent best practices. This is a very, very critical part of revenue management, where how you record business, how do you assign market segments, how do you understand the reports, how do you understand the pace, and how do you understand the price sensitivity and insensitivity of the customer. So it's a kind of a practice that you follow, which needs to be very consistently as a best practice. Effective use of technology. So you understand there are multiple technologies that are available, right from your PMS, the property management system, to rate shopper and rate channel manager, booking engine and GDS connectivity and reputation management tool. All of these technologies will have to be very effectively in use. And of course, goes without saying that the outstanding customer service is an integral part of revenue management. And through worldwide sales and marketing programs, be it consortia or be it any kind of sales and marketing programs that you participate right across the globe. Let's move on. So why do we need revenue management? So to break the ancient first come, first serve idea, so you preserve the valuable inventory for the highly yieldable customers. To effectively manage our most important asset or perishable inventory. To minimize and or eliminate the risk of denied sales. To maximize revenue by accurately predicting future demand and then proactively allocate resources. To complete more effectively in the complex and changing market environment. All right, so let's understand the definition of revenue management. I'm sure everybody might have definitely read this right across: selling the right product to the right customer at the right time, for the right price, through the right channel. So what is so right about each and every aspect that is mentioned on the screen for you? So let's talk about the right customer first. Every customer is a right customer, right? There is no right customer or wrong customer. But what precisely right customer means in this context is that, let's say, for example, you're trying to sell a room if you're a transit hotel or if you're an airport hotel, where a customer is just looking for a room just overnight, where he has to catch a flight on the next day early morning. So there's no point in selling him the suite or a luxury suite just for a night, right? So you need to sell the right product, which could be possibly your base category of room or just a simple category of room that you want to sell. That's how it covers the right product to the right segment of customer who's on a transit. The right time here denotes two key things. One is your lead time, that is how many days out or how many weeks out you receive a reservation for a stay date. It's basically the lead time between the book date and the stay date. That's one aspect of time. The other aspect of time is your length of stay. So is he going to stay for a night, 2, 3, or 5, or a long stay? So based on these two time parameters, your pricing decision will change, right? The right price is basically, you have different price. You can also look at the link that I would put in over here for the pricing blog of ours, which is, the mix of strategic and tactical pricing for a hotel to maximize its profits. So the right price is the optimal price. The right means here is the optimal price. So what is the optimal price and how do we derive optimal price? The optimal price is primarily when you look at dynamic pricing, you derive the optimal price based on your demand and the supply with ever-changing market conditions, followed by your competitors. Right. So that's the optimal price. And the right channel is, of course, the right channel could be your distribution channel for online or offline, or through your sales, or through your sales network across the globe. So which channel that you sell the room is what matters here. All right, so this is the revenue management cycle, which you might have been very familiar with this. It starts from data collection, followed by data analysis, forecasting, pricing, inventory management, distribution, reporting, and impacting. So why we say data collection instead of straight away data analysis? It's very, very critical for a revenue manager to collect the data the way you want to look at it, right? So collection of data in certain formats, which you will probably interpret the right things out of the data. And then you analyze this data to understand a little more deeply to take informed decisions. Based on these disciplined data and data analysis, you then predict the demand or forecast the demand or the unconstrained demand. Once you've done the forecasting, it helps you use the forecasting data to derive pricing. And when it comes to pricing, you have a pricing structure which is in place, which is your fixed pricing versus your dynamic pricing. So based on the dynamic pricing, you look at the demand and supply and derive your best available rates or the best derivative rates. This derivative rates followed by your group rates and other rates, right? And then you allocate the inventory as against each segment and price, which segment requires what kind of inventory allocation. So you manage your inventory. When it comes to inventory, it's just not about allocating inventory. You do in line with different room types, length of stay controls, your other restrictions like close to arrival, minimum length of stay and maximum length of stay to control more effectively on the inventory. Followed by that, you decide which distribution channels should be effectively sold, be it online distribution or an offline distribution. And then finally, you get the reports or extract the results, measure the results, constantly monitor them, and improve upon for desired results of optimum revenue achievement. So that's the overall revenue management cycle. Next slide, please. Which, of course, for entire sales, whether it is room sales or conferencing and banqueting sales. The last slide that I have in revenue management to cover is why is pricing so important? Now, very often we come across when there is a pressure for revenues, we try to cut costs down here and there, trying to save money and trying to show higher GOPs and higher profitability. But here is a study which was done by McKinsey about 10 years ago. It's a pretty old data, but got a lot of sense to take away with us. This was done for across 1,500 companies across various industries, impacting on different profit levels. So if you improve every area by 1%, what is the net outcome of this profitability? So when you improve 1% fixed cost by 1%, your profitability improves by 2.7%. When you improve your volume by 1%, that's the volume of sale by 1%, your profitability improves by 3.7%. When you improve your variable cost, when you reduce your variable cost by 1%, your profit by 7.3%. But when you increase your price by 1%, your profitability is expected to increase by 11%. So this is why pricing is very, very important, that you need to definitely have a pricing structure in place, understand the dynamics of pricing, fixed pricing versus dynamic pricing, qualified and unqualified segments of pricing. So that's the reason that why pricing is important. I'll share more links for you to understand in terms of why is pricing important, what are the different kind of articles that you could read and understand more about pricing. Yep. And so that's all I have. So let's move to the next slide. And yeah, I would say it's back to Better Logics.
Thank you, sir, for summarizing us what revenue management exactly is today and what misconceptions have actually taken over the industry, and how pricing is also one of the most important or most significant factors when it comes to revenue management. So moving on, we would be covering now the challenges, and especially in specific the price setting. This will be taken up by Mr. Iran. So over to you, Mr. Iran.
So Conrad, thank you for having us here. I will continue. So I will repeat the four main challenges that we have identified when setting pricing. So the first one was unpredictable market demand. We see that in the last years, with the rising of the low-cost carriers, as well as more and more last-minute travelers who are traveling, natural disasters and human disasters like terrorist attacks becoming more and more challenging to predict the market demand. Also, if you're looking at how to price, and Kumar touched that a little bit, there are a lot of sources, data sources to consider, both external as well as internal. External, one can think about events that occurring in the city or in the market, the competition pricing, the overall market demand that need to identify in a specific destination. In internal, of course, would be the hotel reservations. All of that requires a background in econometrics to calculate all that data, to consider all that data, to forecast and to price. And even if you do own that knowledge in the hotel, it's highly time-consuming process to do that every day. And so looking at those four challenges is becoming, in fact, humanly impossible to set pricing correctly without technology. Let's move to the next slide, please. So how do accommodation providers, actually hotels mainly, face these challenges? What are the methods that they are currently using to price and set their price? You can go to the next slide, please. So this is a recent research conducted by Booking.com. We actually sent a survey to thousands of our hotel partners, asking them how do they currently set the pricing, what are the methods that they are using. And you can clearly see that competition pricing are the winner when it comes down to set pricing. People are either looking at different OTAs, can be Booking, Expedia, Airbnb, or any other OTAs that is strong enough in the market. They may look at the competitor's website. Some of them will use rate shopping tool, but merely 12% of the partners are using any sort of automatic revenue management system, which will be linked to the property management system. You can move to the next slide. The next slide is another research that conducted last year by Focusrite in Europe and in the US, and you can see that 10% of the US hotels are using any automated revenue management system, 6% in Europe. We do not have any figures on APAC, but we could estimate that it's probably somewhere between Europe and the US. It has to do mainly with the fact that in the US there are more groups and more branded groups, which will use more automated revenue management system. In Europe, we have more independent hotels, and in APAC, it's probably somewhere in between Europe and US. So it probably will be somewhere between 6 to 8%. You can move to the next slide. So we have done something pretty interesting, and you can move to the next slide as well. We have conducted a research based on a methodology called jobs to be done. And we actually ask our partners, what are the reasons that they sign up for Rate Manager? Rate Manager is one of our products from Rate Family product in Booking Suite. Rate Manager is an advanced pricing optimization tool. And we have conducted interviews for a couple of weeks with many partners who just signed up for Rate Manager, actually asking them what are the real reasons that they wanted to sign up for Rate Manager. So there were, after we've done that, we've sent a survey to a couple of thousands of partners in Booking.com just to validate the data. So we have followed qualitative as well as quantitative research, and we come up with quite interesting findings. You could see the top main findings of why people are looking to hire technology to help to set the room. The first one will be automation. Automation means that people want to automate that data processing and to make sure that they can price fast and do other and focus on other parts of the business. They also would like to see the different data that they view in one place. It's very important for them not to move from one system to another, but to view everything in one place. They also indicated that they're very much interested to learn about the market dynamics so they can make a better informed pricing decision. They find it important to use technology so they are certain and confident on the pricing and the price they're setting, not to lose the customers. And they always want, and very often they want to compare their pricing value proposition to the competition as well. So those are the main findings. You can move to the next slide, please.
Thank you, Don. I'll take the next two slides. So I'll quickly show you how the PMS actually plays an important role in the revenue management cycle, and actually how it is established itself at the heart of revenue management. Before Idan takes up the rate manager and the rate intelligence tool after this, I would quickly show you the revenue management cycle. So as we already discussed previously in our presentation, the revenue management cycle taken up by Mr. Kumar. This revenue management cycle is the same, or only over here, what actually is done is also combined with how it is run through the help of your PMS. So we're going to tell you how PMS, right from the point where data is to be collected to the point where reporting and impact is to be noted, is actually playing a very instrumental role. So for what data collection involves is reservation data, your booking data, your check-in and check-out data, your performance data, and even the guest profiling. So every PMS, and even HotelLogix PMS, has the option of generating enough reports, which allows you to capture and actually see this data in a legible format. The second part is data analysis. Now, first thing that you require is analytical reports. Analytical reports which allow you to condense all this influx of so much of data. So you have a lot of data, but you don't know which one to see. These analysis modules allow you to actually see the information that requires, suppose like your RevPAR, your ADR, a lot of things. Now there's something called Snapshot Business Intelligence. I've used Snapshot because we work with Snapshot, but like Snapshot, there are there are a lot of business intelligence tools that are available in the market that only work in tandem with your PMS because they need to pick up the data from your PMS. And that allows them to give you a more crisp format of analysis, and only that particular data that you require while running into a meeting that allows you to keep track of the performance of the hotel. The next very important step of revenue management cycle is forecasting, and in turn demand forecasting. We've all studied demand forecasting and statistics. It uses the same model, only you don't end up doing the mathematical analysis yourself. The PMS gives you the data to do that. So business on your books, your booking pace, your demand forecasting, and even tools like STR Global, which give an analysis of the market conditions. Now, suppose we just recently saw the Olympics in Rio. The market demand would have tremendously gone up at that time. So the studies by companies such as STR Global would have accounted for that when doing a demand forecast for your hotel. Moving on is the pricing strategy. Now, pricing strategy, we all know, requires both strategic and tactical pricing. You have the market segmentation to be defined. Your PMS allows you to define that. You want to take corporates, you have only leisure hotels. So market segmentation can be depending entirely on the hotel's business. And hotel can actually prefer which particular segment it wants to cater to. Now, the pricing structure requires your hotel's pricing to be in line with the market segmentation. Now, suppose there's a business hotel, it will not want to give more attractive prices to leisure clients or clients who are traveling for vacations. If it's more towards the corporate or business set of people, it would want to give more attractive pricing to corporates and give them a better option or better booking experience. But for that, they need to decide what particular or attractive pricing has to be given to them. That pricing or packages is what can be created at the end of your PMS end. Now we have something called dynamic pricing. Depending, you're changing your pricing entirely on the occupancy of a hotel. This also has to be done from the back end, and you cannot keep on changing it all the time. So most PMSs these days have an option to set dynamic pricing and define the percentage increase or decrease in pricing depending on the occupancy. You have something called promotions that can be deployed to different channels from which you get the booking, even the web booking engine, or a booking is being taken at the front end of your hotel, or even from different channels like booking.com or makemytrip.com. Okay, moving on. Now you have rate controls. So you can actually select which particular rate applies to which particular set of clients. This is something that your PMS allows at the back end. Now, another important thing that we need to know is price cannibalization. Suppose in a scenario, a hotel has negotiated a price with a corporate for a certain set of rooms and for a certain set of periods and at a certain fixed price. But at the same time, you're because you don't have a track of what price is being offered on different channels. The person might get a better price on probably booking.com or some other website like that, and he might end up coming through that particular channel. So would you want that, or would you want the hotel to get the booking from the corporate source directly? To avoid that, you need a PMS which keeps track of these pricing and allows you to not screw up in this particular regard. Now, bar is something that has really come up these days. Originally, it was being taken up with the airlines, but now most hotels are using bar because it actually changes your pricing depending on your business. And so derivative bar is the next step, where you make a change in certain pricing, and the pricing on all other sets of pricing gets changed depending on that change. So that's why derivative bar is now coming up a lot. Now, something called rate shopping. You not only need to keep a track of your hotel's pricing, but also of your competitors, and in particular those set of competitors that cater to your segment of customers or your segment of business. So for that, you need to be able to rate shop, and all these rate shopping tools that are available in the market, they are in integration with the PMSs. You need a PMS to work in that, because they will pick up the information from either an external source or from a PMS. The next step that involves is distribution. Now, distribution has really come up to be a very important factor in terms of revenue management. Most PMSs these days actually sell their product on the basis of the distribution capabilities that I have. So channel management is one such. The second thing is global distribution systems, GDSs, and the web booking engine. Your PMS allows you to seamlessly distribute on all these channels, and also gives you enough access to not only control your rate, but also inventory on different channels. The next, our important thing is the room inventory management. So first thing, you need to keep a track of your overbooking. So you need to have certain controls. How much overbooking can you allow at the hotel? Because you don't want a guest to check into the hotel and actually find that there's no room for him. You can also define length of stay restrictions. So if you don't want a guest, especially from a different set of clientele, suppose your hotel is purely a business hotel, and at that particular time you're experiencing a lot of business guests coming in. So if you cannot really deny someone a stay at your place, but you can at least set not a leisure customer cannot stay more than a couple of days at this particular hotel. That is something that most PMSs, even HotelLogics allows that too. And the next thing, I think you cannot really see it here, it's close to departure and close to arrival. So a certain set of dates can be selected for which people cannot check in or check out of your hotel. And the last but not the least is reporting and impact. Now, we all have established that PMS generates enough reports, but these reports are in a condensed form in the form of analytics as well. And all these reports and this analysis that you get automatically from the back end allows you to carry on the next step back to the data collection. So you know how your PMS has been, how your hotel has been performing. Your PMS gives that data. So now you know the next kind of data that has to be collected has to be different. So even again, we go back to the same cycle. So if you see, PMS is instrumentally involved in all the parts of the revenue management cycle. And that's why it not only facilitates the data capture, but also allows you to make decisions on a daily basis. Thank you. So I think Mr. Idan would now be covering the rate intelligence, the rate manager tool. Rate intelligence being the rate shopping tool, and rate manager is is more like a rate, how do you say, a revenue manager of sorts, which allows you, which not only suggests you pricing, but also optimizes your pricing depending on the market scenario and also the hotel's performance. Over to you, Iran.
Yeah, thank you, Conrad, and thank you for a great overview. Indeed, Booking Suite offers various solutions. We have what we call the web family. We offer a website for hotels that can be synced with Booking.com data, as well as the rate family. In the rate family, we do have two products currently: the Rate Intelligence, which is a rate shopping tool, and Rate Manager, which I would define it as an advanced rate recommendation tool that can be connected to the channel manager or to the PMS to distribute automatically the pricing. We can move to the next slide. So, so why rate intelligence? We can move. So there are a couple of benefits if we move to the next one. There's a couple of benefits for rate intelligence. When one's, Conrad, can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So there's a rate shopping tool. It's a report that displays your pricing as well as your competitors. It saves you time if you'd like to look at what the competition is offering. Rate Intelligence offer unique data. It's fresh data from Booking.com. It's very intuitive and user friendly. Within a couple of minutes, you can look at all the dates you'd like to view. And you can take the decision you'd like to take. I think very important as well, it's free of charge. So each partner, hotel partner that is working with Booking.com can go into the Booking Suite section of the extranet and just sign up for Rate Intelligence free of charge. I brought a couple of screenshots for you to view. We can quickly go through them. Rate Intelligence shops every hour, the coming 2 weeks. So we refresh the data for the coming 2 weeks every hour, and every day we are displaying fresh data for the coming 360 days. There's also an on-demand feature which allows you to run some on-demand reporting, an ad hoc reporting for the coming 360 days. You can see it displayed in a 30 days either calendar or graph or table. You could have a reporting if you'd like sent out to your mail. To use it in your Excel, and it's also display the market demand per day, and the market demand is based on the Booking.com reservations historically predominantly. That allows us to analyze the data and to identify and forecast what is the market demand per day for the coming 360 days. Next slide, please. So you can see on each day we are displaying your price versus the median competition price, as well as the market demand level of that day. There's another format to view it. So we look to the calendar now. We look at the graph, and quickly we can go through the table as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, there's a simple table that shows you what's your position in terms of pricing. Are you the highest or lowest, or what's your in terms of level, as well as your 5 competitors that you may choose to view the pricing. So that was a little bit about Rate Intelligence. If we go to the next slide, yeah, there's one more thing. You could choose always your competition. There's a Google map in the setting that allows you to choose always 5 competitors. You can also replace them whenever you want to. The next slide, please. So as a summary, Rate Intelligence is a rate shopping tool that allows you to customize the platform to your own needs. You could read it in a report format, in a graph, in a calendar, or in a table. We recommend to visit your calendar every day so you can be up to date on the changes, on the market demand changes, as well as the competition changes that occurs. And combining the market demand data, that's very accurate data from Booking.com, as well as the competition data, is very powerful for, I would say, beginners, for hotels who understand the need to practice dynamic pricing, but they are not sure how to start in doing that. So that would be a very good beginning. The second tool would be a more advanced tool for users that understand that dynamic pricing is important and are exercising dynamic pricing often. It can be on a daily basis, can be on a weekly basis, a little bit. It depends on the needs in your market. So we can move to the next slide and talk a little bit about Rate Manager. Rate Manager, and the big difference is Rate Manager is more a brain. Rate Manager considers all the data. Kumar was talking about it. I was talking about it as well. Consider the internal as well as the external sources of data that we are collecting, analyzes it, and comes up with accommodation and even automate the distribution to the channel managers. It uses the hotel's reservations data from the PMS. In this case, Hotelogix will interface with Rate Manager and will keep on updating the system with new, fresh reservations data. It updates it with fresh competition pricing. It looks historically at the rate strategy of your competition, as well as the hotel owns property strategy. It looks at the aggregated demand data from Booking.com and the events that are occurring in the market. All of it together, there's a very advanced, sophisticated algorithm. We have a team of 7 data scientists who are working on this algorithm, and it comes up with very accurate recommendation, as well as allowing you to distribute it out to the channel managers or to the back to the PMS that will send it out to the channels. Next slide. So this is another way to look at it. The data, the external and internal data, the flying into the Rate Manager, the analysis that occurs all the time, the algorithm works all the time. Every time a new piece of data is coming in, algorithm will be updated and will push out the pricing to the right systems. Next slide, please. As a summary, rate recommendation for the next 360 days. You can do it per room type. You can do it as a bar base and link it to the other room type, very much depending on your own strategy and how you structure your room type rate plan strategy. We also have a group quote, which based on a displacement analysis that can help you to come up with the right group quotes if you receive any request. And you can always customize it, the alerts or with colors to your own needs. Let's look at some screenshots. Oh yeah, before that, we also here we are shopping every hour for the coming 2 weeks. In this case, you could choose 10 competitors and you can update them whenever you want. We will help you during the sign up to come up with the right competition. We have an algorithm that during the sign up will look at your property and will advise you on what would be the most appropriate comp set for you. However, feel free to change them. And of course, the market demand from Booking.com will be updated every day as well. We can go to the next slide as well, Conrad. So these are the cockpit. This is where you when you log in, you will see a cockpit which display which give you a summary of what's happening right now at the hotel, at the market, how you perform versus last year in terms of revenue, occupancy, the ODR, how many recommendations were pushed out right now, when was the last time the shopping data was updated and the PMS data was updated, what are the most important days for you to look at, etc., etc. Next, please. You can do it, yeah, and this is a calendar, the calendar of Rate Manager. It's a backbone of Rate Manager. It displays every day the price you're currently offering, the occupancy and the recent pickup, the median competition price, and the price that we're recommending you to do. There will be different color background colors on the background that will indicate what's the difference between your current pricing and the recommendation in this case. and you can either push out the pricing through a button, channel manager button, or you can set up an autopilot that will have to push out the pricing automatically to the channels. Next. Yeah, this is another graph that shows the view, allows you to view the market demand for the coming 360 days, as well as the competition pricing, the accommodation, your own occupancy. Very, very handy for weekly revenue management meeting, to take a screenshot of those graphs and to discuss how many people should be in housekeeping, how many people should be in reception, et cetera, based on the forecasting as well, because we will have another slide that helps, that shows the forecasting as well. Next. Yeah, we also have reporting here, and the reporting is can be similar to what the PMSs are offering. We do have that. Some of our partners love those reporting. Just a couple of examples of the reporting. In this case, is your current year to date versus last year to date in terms of the breakdown of your room types. You could look at different components like groups, channels, nationality, rate policies. Everything what we receive from the PMS will be displayed for you to look at. Next slide, please. And it's the pickup, another report section that's very handy for revenue managers. I know when I used to be a revenue manager, the first thing I looked at always is what was my pickup from yesterday. So you could easily log in, look at the reporting, and look at your pickup, in this case on room type or segments or any channels or anything you'd like to view. Next, please. Price dynamics. Some hotels are not sure whether how dynamic they are versus the competition. So there's a display showing you for a specific day or a specific range of dates how dynamic you are versus your competition. Next, please. And again, it's another way to show you how your competition versus you. You can also choose a specific competition. How are you dynamic? How much you change your pricing? How often do you change your pricing versus your competitors? Next. This is a screenshot of the group cost estimate, check-in, check-out dates, the number of rooms requested by the groups, and then it gives you an analysis of what you should offer. What would be your new forecast and new current occupancy forecasting if you will accept that group. That was for me, Conrad. Thank you very much for having us here. You take it over.
Thank you, Iran, and thank you, Mr. Kumar, for taking the valuable time. And I hope you all enjoyed the session. We had a minor technological hiccups in between, but I assure you this is not a usual scenario. And the second thing is, I think one other thing that you need to know, that the rate intelligence tool as well as the rate manager tool, they both have an iframe integration. So when you are using your respective PMSs, the integration allows you to actually access this particular console from within the PMS through an open window. You don't really have to go to a separate browser and do that. So this makes your work much more easier. With HotelLogic's PMS, the same thing is there. If anyone is interested in actually having a look at this, you can actually reach out to us directly, or we'll be sending you follow-up emails so that you can reply to that, and we can definitely set up a demo for you. I think Idan and Mr. Kumar, we would be now taking some of the questions. We have a lot of chats already, so I think some of them have been requesting the slides. I'm sorry, but we won't be able to share the slides because most of this information that people are using for their day-to-day business. But what we can do is the recording of the webinar will be released post today. So you will have access to that, and you can just register on a website and get the webinar, the recording for yourself, and all the slides will be covered in the recording anyway. Just a minute, I'll just go in one by one. So I believe Mr. Kumar Subramaniam has shared one particular blog. I think two blogs here. So I would strongly suggest that if you are new to revenue management, or if you do want to just know a little bit more about what he's written about, you should go read these blogs. You'll actually understand the actual mix of strategic and tactical pricing and how it can be used to maximize your particular profits. Yes, Mr. Hassan Achari has asked, he wants to understand forecasting in a little bit more detail. Mr. Kumar, would you kindly oblige us and actually just shed some light on that particular part?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, we talk about forecasting. Forecasting involves various data coming into flow. So when we talk about forecasting, what are the key factors that involves forecasting? It's a historical pattern. It's a future pattern. Your micro level segmentation, your market conditions. These are some of the factors that flows into the forecasting. Now, forecasting, when you talk about any kind of a data is again the internal data and the external data. So that influences your forecasting decisions. The internal data could be your own PMS data, your strategies, your tactics, your product changes, your people, your interpretation, your performance. All of these factors into the decision of forecasting. The external data could be your environmental data, your industry level data, what competitors' performance data, the company, the people, the process. So all of these between the external and internal data, which factors into the forecasting. So based on this, you predict a demand where it can be a two level of forecasting: a constrained demand forecasting or an unconstrained demand forecasting. Unconstrained demand forecasting is a true forecasting which is not limited to the hotel's capacity. Let's say, for example, if you have a 100-room hotel, and if your forecast is say 110, so that's a true forecast, demand forecast of 110, because it's not limited to the capacity of the hotel, which is got only 100 rooms. So that's unconstrained demand forecast. So you try and understand the behavioral patterns of each and every market segmentation, understand the performance of each and every market segmentation, track the pace of each and every market segmentation into the future, and the past performance. That's where the historical pattern and the future pattern. The historical pattern is basically a performance pattern, and the future pattern is basically your booking patterns, your booking curve, or your booking pace. What do you call that as? So based on these two combinations, and with involving the other external factors, you predict a demand and forecast that to a constrained or unconstrained level. So that's precisely means forecasting. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I hope that answers your question. We have another question from Alina. How does the PMS and rate manager incorporate revenue streams such as SPA, which in itself has complex revenue streams? I'll repeat the question. How does the PMS and the rate manager incorporate revenue streams such as SPA, which in itself has complex revenue streams? I think, Idan, could you take this up, please?
Yeah, I can take it up, and I think it's a great question. Right now, Rate Manager doesn't do that. So Rate Manager extract the data needed to come up with room revenue recommendation. Any other type of revenue stream like SPA or other food and beverage revenue streams are not being considered and are not being recommended. It's not that it's not needed. Only the majority of our hotel partners have indicated that that's the most important jobs that they're looking to do. And so we could strategically do two things. We could spread around everything and try to cover everything everyone wants, or just to focus on the most important thing and to be the best in the most important need that our hotel partners need. And I think that's the way that we chose for the second option. There are RMSs out there, revenue management system out there, that are giving solutions for SPA and food and beverage. And I would be honest that if you guys have that as a major an important revenue stream, I would recommend you to look into those kind of systems. If your main revenue stream is your room revenue, and you understand that dynamic pricing is something that you need to exercise every day in order to maximize your revenue, Rate Manager can give a great solution for that. Will be a great solution for that.
Thank you, Dan. I hope, Lena, that answers your question. In case you want a more comprehensive answer, please type in here, and we'll make sure we'll get back to you after the webinar. And we have another viewer who's anonymous. So he's asking, he or she is asking, what is the ideal period to push data from PMS to Booking Suite? Is it 1 year, 2 years? I believe it happens on a daily basis, but I think, Idan, you can throw some light on.
Yeah, well, we will initially will receive 3 years of historical data. Some hotels, we do understand, do not have 3 years. 2 years or even 1 year will be sufficient. The more data we get, the more comprehensive data, the better the forecasting is, which is ultimately translated to price recommendation. On a daily basis, we have an API with API connectivity with Hotelogic. It means that every time a recommendation comes in, it flies into Rate Manager, and in a sense triggers the algorithm to recalculate again the recommendation. There may be, in most cases, the 1 or 2 reservation will not impact the recommendation, but sometimes a group booking coming in, or there's any certain event that will trigger the recommendation, the algorithm possibly to modify the recommendation.
Thank you. We have a couple of more questions in line. So does a raise in pricing will affect the occupancy for remote destination?
I got it. So the answer is yes and no, because what do you think is the right pricing? The pricing is primarily the value perception, or is the assessment of all that you get for all that you give in exchange, right? So the key to successful pricing hinges on the buyer's perceived value. So the value perception of the utility is the customer's assessment of all that they have received in comparison to what they have given. So therefore, they ask themselves, by giving up so much of money, what I'm getting by way of not just physical features, but is it also the overall benefits? So which means that the price here we talk about is not necessarily hiking up price or lowering price, whether you're a remote destination or you're a hot destination. Irrespective of all that, what is the perceived value of the customer as against the price that you charge for your product, A? And B is how sensitive and insensitive is your customer when you wanted to increase or decrease price. Now, how such insensitivity or sensitivity will affect or impact business is something that you need to practice and measure and monitor before you make any such decisions.
So we have one more question from Sindhu as well. How beneficial is the rate shopping tool for heritage and concept-oriented hotels? I believe the hotels that we'll find mostly in the Rajasthan side of India, where most of old Havelis and old structures have been converted into hotels from inside. So I think it's related to that particular segment.
Yeah, and I think it's a great question. I think rate shopping tool will be interesting for you to look at when there are competition who are using dynamic pricing. And it doesn't really matter what kind of property you have. It's more important what kind of market you are operating in, and how the dynamic in the market. And if there are different demand levels throughout the year, potentially you and your competition would like to adapt the pricing accordingly. And in order to view what your neighbor is doing, you either go into Booking or Expedia, or you just start shopping for that day. But that's a very highly time consuming. You might just take Rate Intel and just look at it every day and see, view the days where changes are happening, and trying to see if you think you should change your pricing accordingly as well. It's not a solution, it's a report. Solution would be a Rate Manager, which will actually tell you what or recommend you the right price. But Rate Intel can be a very good beginning.
Thank you, Iran. I have a question directed to Mr. Kumar. It's from S. Ramesh. Can we sell lower room rates in a brand website? That's what he's asking.
Can we sell?
Can we sell at lower room rates in the brand website?
Well, why do you want to restrict or limit yourself to one particular channel? So you make the whole world to contribute for you. You make the whole distribution channels to contribute to you. The more the opportunity that you get, it is more even more the opportunity for you to capitalize on revenue. So there are many other ways to attract customers into your brand website by offering them probably a freebie, or probably offering them a attractive discount upon the check-in, or probably an upgrade. So there are so many other ways that you could do. It's not because you're putting up a lower rate in your brand website, people are going to forget Booking.com or Expedia or Make My Trip, and then they're going to search for your brand website and come and book with you because you've got a lower rate. So I don't see that. I see that more of a disparity of price rather than strategy to attract more customers into the brand website.
Yeah, and Konrad, can I add something for the just as another? And I totally agree with Kumar. And I think hotel needs to choose their partners they're going to work with to distribute the rates. And once they choose the distribution partners, they just need to probably want to offer the same pricing all over and get, and optimize and maximize the relationship with those distribution, whether it's 2 or 3 distribution channels or it's 20. And I agree, you could do some stuff on your brand website, but you don't necessarily need to offer and lower your pricing, because you will not create better relationship with the other distribution channels, which will not necessarily will help you to drive more business.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So we have another question from Hassan. He's asking, what's the difference between rate intelligence pricing and the rate manager pricing? So how both the softwares are different. Both the tools are different.
Yeah. So rate intelligence is a report, and rate manager is a solution. So rate intelligence display pricing. And that means that you will have to go and start doing all your work. You will have to get your internal data, the PMS data, as well as other components from the external data. Rate intelligence simply display competition pricing. Rate manager gets all that data internally and externally. It analyzes it, it forecasts it, and it translates into price recommendation, pushing it out to the channel managers, either automatically or semi-automatically with some threshold, or manually. So those are 2 different things. We always recommend partners to start with rate shopping tools so they can understand the pricing dynamic in the market. If they want solution and to be proactive on dynamic pricing, they might as well want to employ technology, and that means that they want to employ a brain like Rate Manager to do the job.
Thank you, Dan. I would like to second on that. So another thing that you need to define, you need to see the distinction between is rate intelligence is morely a free tool which comes with the Hotologics PMS or many PMSs that they work with. Precisely why? Because it gives you just a comparison of your particular pricing that is set on Booking.com in relation to what a competitor is selling at. So it's very important that you choose a competitors right, so you can actually see the difference between your pricing and what competitors are facing in the market, or actually putting out in the market. Whereas Rate Manager actually helps you optimize your price. It also gives you a price suggestion. It's a different type of tool, and Rate Manager is actually a paid tool as well. So I hope, Mr. Ramesh, that answers your question. We have one. We'll take the last 3-4 questions. So I have a couple of questions already here. In case you are not able to finish we're not able to answer your questions here. What we would do is we'll email you the answers shortly once we finish the webinar today. So we have one question from Bukebza Mohammed, and he has for booking intelligence or rate intelligence, that they have a report based on refundable and non-refundable rate. Can they have more reports based on the rate, like BB, BOB, HB? Mr. Bukebza, could you also say, could you just highlight what is BB, BO, and HB?
It's a bed and breakfast, half pension, and pension.
That way?
So Full pension, yeah. So I'm aware of that. We so there are two things. We could have as many as room types and rate plans that needed, like for different combination of room types, like standard and rate plans, or rate categories like non-refundable. At this stage, we are not chopping half pension, full pension. We are looking at it. It's something that will come later on this year, but we are not doing it right now.
Okay.
Bed and breakfast we do, because that's usually breakfast will be part of the policies. So that's something that obviously we display. Half pension, it's a different story. And at this stage, we're not displaying a rating to the half pension.
Thank you, Mr. Iran. We have one more question for you. When we are doing so many different analysis and fixing the rates and end up with value for money, how do we handle it? This is directed by Mr. Ramesh.
So the question is, what's the return on investment, right? Is that the question, or?
I believe so. He's saying, I'll just repeat the question for you again. When we are doing so much of analysis and fixing the rates, yes, what do we end up with the value for money? So how do we handle that? So I think it's more about return on investment. It's
very challenging for every revenue management system in the world, or any other software system that you are hired to do the job, to come up with return investment, simply because we are solving one component of your business. We don't have any control on your availability, neither on your marketing, nor your room descriptions, and etc. etc. What we are trying to do is we're trying to solve some of the jobs that you're doing, and we're trying to do it better. We're trying to optimize that process. You know, if you let a machine do your job, I wouldn't let it 100%. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't just let the machine do it for 100%. I would let the machine do it for 70 and 80%. Save a lot of time. Save a lot of time on processing, on generating reports, and analyzing, and doing forecasting, and looking at all the different screens and places you need to look at, and then take the 10 to 20 minutes per day to focus on the 20% of the days that are really important for you to focus on, looking at the one screen of Rate Manager, understanding what your accommodation are, but also what are the data behind the recommendation, and take the time to focus on those days. And within 20 minutes, go on and do the rest of, focus on the rest of the things you need to do every day. So we are showing what's the difference between revenue levels this year and last year. Return investment, as you mentioned, Konrak, you do need to look at benchmarking reports. That's probably the only way to really look at return investment. We would not at this stage display a benchmark reporting in Rate Manager.
So I would like to add something here, Idan, as well. That if you look at the misconceptions of revenue management in the very beginning of my first slide, I said it very categorically that artificial intelligence does not all the time ahead of the human intelligence. It has to be a hand in glove. It has to work together. So the artificial intelligence will definitely provide organizing the data in a better way for you to understand a lot more with deeper insights. However, a human intelligence would certainly require for making such decisions, so that it can be a very, very informed decisions based on scientific data.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Thank you, Mr. Iran. We have another question from the chat box from Charmi Nagar. Is it beneficial to close the high cost channels on the days of high occupancy, or increase the rates across all the channels despite of their commission structure and the negotiated rates?
I'll take that one. Thank you, Konrak. So Chami, it's like this. So when you're sitting on a high occupancy, you want to shut shop for the high cost channel. So what happens when your occupancy goes down? You want to go back and knock their doors. So what happens to those high cost channels supporting you? Do you need their support only when you want them, or you're gonna need them for all the time? So therefore, the price parity is one part. While you manage the price parity, the cost of acquisition or the sales cost of acquiring any booking is irrespective of the customer. The customer needs to see definitely your hotel across all the distribution channels. So I think that's a very unfair idea, and we are still not prepared to reach at that level even in different markets. When I see it is more imperative for a hotel to be available across all distribution channels and do it justice to across all channels.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I think we'll have the last two questions for the webinar. In case if anyone is not has not typed in a question yet or wants to ask a question later, you can just email it to us. You all have our email IDs, or we will be sending you a follow-up mail with the email ID. You can send us your questions there, and we'll be happy to get back to you. In case you want a demo of these products and you want to see these products in detail, we will also be happy to oblige all of you. So please let us know. And the second last question of the day is: as a hotel, I work with standard and non-refundable rates on OTAs. Does Booking Suite give me a rate on both the rate plans, or is it just one?
Yeah, it can give you both. So it can give you whatever you want. I must say that I probably, and this is not scientifically, but I estimate that 70% of our Booking.com are working. And again, we don't have accurate figures, but this is my estimation. 70% of Booking customer database is working with base, which base rate plans, room types linked to other room types and rate plans. But we could also allow you to independently manage the room type and rate plans as you just described. It's both. This is during the setup. We work with you to set up the pricing the way you'd like us to do.
Thank you, Mr. Iran. I think we have the last question for the day. I think this is from Sindhu. Will these tools assist the hotel on pricing structure, or is it automated?
Yeah, I recommend that Sindhu reads the the pricing structure article which I had pasted on the chat box. So pricing structure is something that a hotel revenue manager will have to take a deeper look at the data and the performance of the hotel and understand what is your contribution when compared to a fixed rate contribution to dynamic pricing contribution. So therefore, you need to first create a pricing structure. So what am I going to have pricing at what levels for the fixed rate contract? So I'm sure you would have contracted some of the travel agents or consolidators or wholesalers, consortia and corporates. So I'm sure that is one part of the pricing structure, and the other part of the pricing structure is your group pricing and your dynamic pricing. So therefore, I'm sure no tool in this world can come and create a pricing structure for any hotel, but it is for you to create a pricing structure and say, look, now certain percentage of my business comes from a dynamic segment, so therefore I would like to have a dynamic pricing done by an artificial intelligence, which probably can do rate shopping, look at my data, understand, analyze, and forecast, and based on that, provide some pricing recommendations or pricing decisions, which can be over to a revenue manager. Yeah,
I agree with Kumar completely. I just want to add that when you sign up for Rate Manager subscription, we do have performance managers that will go through your pricing structure with you to help you possibly to modify it so you can optimize your pricing. But in general, yes, you will have to do it on your own, and then you will get some advice from us whether it may be improved.
Thank you, guest speakers, and I would like to thank you all for for being so patient and for excusing us for the slight hiccups that we had in between, and also like to thank you our guest speakers, Mr. Iran and Mr. Kumar, for taking out the time and shedding light on this topic, which is very interesting and also very confusing at some times. So I'm very glad that we did this and we've covered a certain topic. And I hope the content was good for everyone and everybody had a lot of questions and they were answered. In case you do have any questions, please write to us and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone. We shall take your leave now.